well, we're going to get started here. That's okay. Hello, everyone. How's it going? What's up, Tommy? Hello, everybody. So many people. So right now, we're at a count. I'll tell you guys, we're at 282 people. The cap is 500, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna hit that cap today, which is crazy to me. But I'm so excited for everybody to be here, and I want to thank you personally for taking the time out of your day to join me today. So let's get started. This is my first webinar ever. I've never done a webinar before. I stream all the time, and a lot of you guys have probably seen me. And I will be looking at the chat on and off, and I don't know why the chat's not working. I need to ask GoToWebinar how it actually works, why it's not working. But I can see your messages coming up through the questions and answers section. So I can see your questions through there, okay? But I'd like to get started here. And this webinar is all about 7 key mistakes to avoid when creating stylized characters. And I'm also going to do a little bit of training today, and I'm going to be talking about, I'm opening my course for enrollment today after this webinar. So I'm super excited about that. I've only had one enrollment session for my course so far, and it's been going fantastic, and I'm excited to show you guys some of the results that have come out of the course so far. So let's see, let me click on this guy. So I want you guys to not be wasting your time. So I wanted to talk to you guys about if you are in the right place, if you currently do box modeling and you want to get into digital sculpting, okay? And if you've ever tried to learn ZBrush before and you've just gotten frustrated either with the user interface or just how it works, you know, I have some answers for you. And if you know some ZBrush basics, but maybe you've just hit a wall in your training and you can't get past a certain point, because ZBrush does not behave like other modeling programs, as you might have noticed. And maybe you know how to sculpt realistic characters, but you want to get into sculpting stylized characters. You want to learn how to make those clean characters that you've seen in, say, Disney Infinity, okay? And then if you don't know who I am, I just wanted to let you know a little introduction here. I'm Shane Olson, and I'm shaking. I'm a little nervous. I'm the creator of the 3D Character Workshop. Here's my logo right here. And I have happy students all around the world. I have over 160 students so far. And they've been churning out some amazing, amazing stuff. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And I was the former character department head at Disney Interactive working on Disney Infinity. I was at Disney for 10 years. And I've had 18 plus years of game development experience. So if you want to see some of my artwork, you can go to my ArtStation. It's just artstation.com/Shane Olson. And I also stream on Pixelogic's Twitch channel. So I stream Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, well, 7 o'clock Pacific. And if you just go to twitch.tv/Pixelogic, you can catch me there. And here is what you'll learn by hanging out with me today. We only have an hour, so I can't pack a ton of stuff in, but I'll do my best. Okay? I'll teach you a very specific way to block out characters. You've probably seen it before if you followed me before. And it's without having to use box modeling, the old traditional way. And the answers to the most common beginner mistakes I see new sculptors make. That's kind of what this webinar is all about. And then at the end, I'll show you a cool opportunity to take your training to the next level. Okay, and make sure you stay all the way until the end. I had my good friend Worth Daly make me, he's a fantastic graphic designer, and he worked on this super hard. It's this infographic showing the exact character pipeline we used on Disney Infinity, and I still use to this day. And it doesn't matter if you are doing characters full-time or if you're doing freelance, it doesn't matter. But this is this really cool infographic. I've made it so you can print it out and just kind of have it next to you, and you can see the steps that you go through, okay? And so I'm calling it a cheat sheet, and it shows you the exact step-by-step character pipeline, okay? And my story so far, like I said, I started in 1998 as a character modeler, rigger, and animator. I went to school at the Art Institute of Seattle, and one of my alumni friends, they're actually in here joining us today. What's up, Jason? And I continued modeling characters the traditional way using the box modeling method. Now, box modeling, if you don't know, it's where you start with a box and you select a face and you extrude it. and then you select more faces and extrude those, and then you start manipulating the points until you finally have a character. It's the old traditional way of modeling since as long as I can remember, and a lot of people still do it this way, and that's just fine. But and I was even teaching way back then. This book on the right-hand side that you see here, back in 1998 when I was going to school, I learned this method called patches inside 3D Studio Max. I don't know if you remember that, but I talked about how to model with patches in this book back in 1998. It was crazy. And some of the games I've worked on, you can see them on the left-hand side here. I'm going through this kind of quick, so maybe I will have some time to show you guys some stuff. Okay, so I was involved in many game titles over my 18-year career, like Xena Warrior Fighting Princess, if any of you guys remember that game. That was on the Nintendo 64. And way back then, we had to do everything. We had to do it all. We had to model, animate, rig. We modeled the environments. We modeled the objects. We were somewhat the game designers. That was a really fun time back then. And now people are more specialized. If you're a character modeler, then you're a character modeler. You're not really a rigger or an animator, unless you're working for an independent game studio. Okay. Hey, what's up, Sean? Tom, really fast, I will post the infographic in the private Facebook group. I will give it to all of the students currently. So it's a really cool it's a really cool infographic, and I want everybody to have it. So during my career, I would switch between animation and modeling because I love animation just as much. But my heart has always pulled me back towards character modeling because I'm okay at it, you know, I guess. I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty good at character modeling, so it's fun for me. So I've always kind of gravitated towards it. Then I spent the last 10 years working at Disney Interactive on titles such as Toy Story 3 and Cars 2. And Toy Story 3 eventually became Disney Infinity, which is the game that you all know and love, I hope. And at the time with Disney Infinity, we were asked to become toy makers. Toy makers, the call to make toys came. We weren't toy makers, we were game character makers. And we thought about outsourcing the toy creation part because we had no idea how to do it, honestly. But our studio creative director, Jeff Bunker, had faith in our artistic abilities, and he thought what we didn't know could be an asset, and it turned out to be true. Our department head at the time, Chris Wright, said that if we were to go down this toy-making path, we ought to learn the toy-making software, so we went about teaching ourselves ZBrush. I had dabbled in ZBrush prior to that. My good friend Mike Hoops taught me a ton about ZBrush before then, and I was dabbling in it on a prior game project we called Jabberwocky. You can find the cinematic to Jabberwocky if you look it up, but this is our journey, okay? We combined the internet for any type of training resource we could find back then. There wasn't much, and it was scattered all over the place, just bits and pieces and parts. It was hard to learn, hard to figure out. Sometimes we would go back to our old comfortable ways of box modeling because it was what we knew, you know, it was what we were good at. So a lot of times we were like, ZBrush, this is killing us. So we would go back and do some of that. But eventually we embraced ZBrush and we conquered. So the most difficult obstacle was keeping our models clean because ZBrush wants you to create lumpy, bumpy things like monsters, and you know, that's really what it wants you to do. It does not want you to do smooth surfaces like Loki here. And you know, obviously the outcome is we persisted, we worked hard, and we overcame the steep ZBrush learning curve together as a team. The combination between Keyshot and ZBrush allowed us to overcome tight deadlines and push the boundaries in toy making. And I am super duper proud of what we accomplished on Disney Infinity and what we created together. So during my time with Disney Infinity and learning ZBrush, kind of towards the end, you know, in Infinity 3.0, I discovered a new way to block out characters using primitive shapes. I developed a system and a pipeline to create appealing characters as simply and effectively and efficiently as possible. And it all starts by creating a character blockout with primitive shapes. And how did I find this technique? Well, I don't claim it. I actually saw Michael DeFeo doing it. And sometime during my time with Infinity, I watched the highly skilled traditional modeler Michael DeFeo teaching himself digital sculpting. And it blew my mind. It absolutely blew me away because Michael, he was going about the process in an entirely new way. He was using primitives to block out his characters rather than box modeling. Because he comes from a traditional sculpting background, he was using primitive shapes, and his models were super clean. And this made so much sense to me. It reminded me of the old characters in those old animation books by Preston Blair. They were built with primitives, you know, those how to draw books, if you guys can remember those. So somebody's asking about box modeling again. If you don't know what box modeling is where you literally start in Maya or 3D Studio Max with a box, and then you grab a face and you extrude it, and then you extrude it again. It's not shadow box in ZBrush. It's old school points, edges, faces box. So when I say box modeling, I'm just talking about traditional modeling in those programs. So I adopted that technique of blocking out characters with primitive shapes, and I did my best to improve upon it. And I wanted to go over this infographic a little bit more with you. Okay? So another person's asking about the raise the hand function. That's a GoToWebinar thing I'm not going to use, but essentially I can call people in here and they can get on their like webcams and microphones and I could talk to them personally, but I'm not going to use that functionality today. So you can ignore the raise the hand thing for now. And yes, it's very much closer to ZModeler. Yeah, ZModeler is essentially a box modeling type program or traditional modeling, whatever you want to call it, but it's more about points and faces and things like that. So anyway, let's really quickly go through this infographic because this is essentially the exact character pipeline that we would go through when we were making Disney Infinity. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to grab this pen, and basically you gather concept. Either you're handed concept by the concept artist. We had a fantastic concept department at Disney Interactive, and this concept was done by one of the artists from Disney Interactive. His name is Josh Black, and I asked him to create a character that I could use for my course, and he created this for me. And this is a piece of fan art. It's Kate from No One Lives Forever, an old 90s game that I loved, and I wanted to do a Disney Infinity take on that character for my course. So is it too small? I'm not sure how to show you, but I'll just read this stuff to you. So basically you gather the concept or a reference, and then you move into the blockout stage, and you show and you use primitive objects like this here to block out your character. And after that, sometimes, not always, you can get feedback from your art director or your concept artist, and that's what these circles represent. They're called a feedback loop, and that's when you talk to your art director. You just call them in and say, okay, here's my block out, what do you think? And it's just kind of a milestone, a way that you can get feedback as you're doing this. So there's often times where you can't get that feedback, or you won't get that feedback. So let's see. So, and this, you'll see these little things that say handoff. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but there's these little arrows that say handoff. And what that means is you can either hand it off to another artist at that point, or you can come in and pick it up at that point. That's a really good starting and stopping point. And yes, I'm still looking at the infographic. This is just a static image. Okay, I'm just pointing to it with my little cursor. I don't know if you can see that there. But this first pass hexagon represents the majority of the work that you'll put into your character. So you start out by combining. So you'll combine all of this together, but not all of it. You'll combine parts of it together. Typically, I will split off the eyes, I'll split off the hair, I'll split off any armor and things like that. So it's not showing my cursor. Great. All right. Like I said, this is my first time with GoToWebinar. Can you see this little arrow? You can't see this arrow? Let me click on pointer. Can you see this now? All right, can you see this little pointer? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Cursor seems not visible. It's okay. So here's my little red dot. You can see it? Yay, red dot. It's like a laser pointer, right? Yay. Okay. So this little red dot, this is the concept, and then we come over to the block out stage. Block it out with primitive objects. This is your feedback. Okay? And then these little handoff arrows, so here's handoff, handoff. So these circles represent the feedback loop, okay? Yes, you will be able to view this recording after, and since you're here for the webinar, you're here live, I'm going to give you this infographic. So you'll have it, you can study it. Okay, so the next step, what I was saying is this section right here, this is where you're going to put in most of the work. So you combine your objects together using Dynamesh. You need to be careful and not combine everything. It's just not a broad sweep combine, but you combine smartly. You know, sometimes you won't want to combine your head with your body because ZBrush likes to, well, ZBrush has limits on how it separates its models, and typically it's called a subtool. And these subtools, if you're used to Maya, a subtool is just like a combination of objects. It's a way to group objects together. And that's actually one of the first lessons that I show in my course. But there's a cap on how many polys you can put per subtool. So say 5 million, for example. You can have 5 million in one of those subtools. Well, you'll get a much higher density if you separate the head from the body and you keep the body in one subtool and the head in a different one. You'll get a lot more resolution because now it's essentially 10 million rather than 5 for both, if that makes sense. Okay, so then you'll simplify, and the way I simplify is essentially I will Z-remesh the Dynamesh mesh, and what that means is you will rebuild the surface of the object because Dynamesh will make a very dense model, a very high resolution model, and you'll want to get that back to being simple because simple is key. Simple is key to being smooth and clean, okay? And then you'll go through the build phase, and what the build phase is, if you've watched any of my streams, you can see like my pirate girl, I'll be showing you her in a moment. If you went your build section, this is when you build all the armor and the parts and, like, you know, all of the detail, everything, okay? And let's see. Oh, thanks for the question there. Somebody just said that the hand raising thing is meant to be for somebody asking a question orally. So, but I'm not going to be using that feature today. So, okay. So I use Z-remesh to simplify, and then I build all the parts. And then I will go through and finally add subdivision levels. I hold off on adding subdivision. In ZBrush, that's Control-D, and it will actually subdivide your mesh and add more detail. Then you can polish and add color and add all the little bits of detail at the end. And eventually you'll end up with something like this, okay? This is a neutral pose character that's high resolution, okay? Then you'll have another feedback session with your art director or client if you're doing a freelance thing, and you can hand it off at that point, okay? Or then you can go to posing, and this posing portion is very important, and it's not just meant for Disney Infinity for the toys. I've found this posing step to be so important because this is where you get approval for your models. Okay, so art directors and clients, they have a hard time in approving this because it's so just kind of stagnant and bland and stiff. And as soon as you introduce a pose and you introduce life and a possible facial expression and things like that, all of a sudden they're like, yes, that's it, you know, that's the way. So my recommendation is to pose your character as soon as possible so you can get that check to move on. Then you'll have, you know, if you are doing a toy or if you are doing marketing shots with this pose, you'll go through yet another feedback loop right here. And with this pose, you can then use a high resolution. You can render it out in KeyShot, and you can print it or prep it for printing and actually print it. And I've been showing people in my stream this. Let's see if I can. But here she is printed. I don't know if you can see that in the webcam, but I printed her out, and these are supports that I have not clipped off yet. But she's been printed on a Form 2, and I'm excited to get her done, and I can paint her and get her all ready, but it's super cool. So then the next step, so you can get your high-res model and your render and your print from this pose, okay? But that is not where it ends, okay? You need to keep going and actually make a game character based off of this. But you don't make a game character based off the pose model. But you will be making a lot of discoveries when you pose your character, because your character will come to life and you'll realize maybe her arm doesn't have enough volume in it, and you'll be adding volume. Maybe her leg's not long enough. Maybe her hands are too small. You discover all of this stuff when you start to pose your figure. So after your pose is complete, then you have to kind of remember what you did. You can take down notes while you're posing as far as what you're doing, what you're changing. Then this little bridge, this little chutes and ladders bridge right here that says neutral pose, this represents taking everything you learned in that pose and updating the actual pose with that, okay? So that will, then you'll come to this game model. And it will look like this, but it will be updated from what you learned with the pose. Then you will retop it, which essentially means you will draw new geometry on the top of the high-res surface. And then you'll create your UVs, and then you will bake your high-resolution detail down to your low-resolution character. Then you will do some texturing work, like usually in Photoshop or Substance Designer, Substance Painter, and then that's where you also add your materials. Whoop, sorry, got to go back. You'll add your materials, and then you can refine everything, and you can test it in either Marmoset Toolbag or Unreal or some kind of a game engine just to see how it's looking, okay? Then you'll go through one last iteration of a feedback loop and hand it off to your riggers to be rigged and animated, or you can push it to like Marmoset or Sketchfab and push it over to ArtStation to show off as your low-resolution game character. And that's super important because you want to show that to potential hirees, okay? So now it's, after that long-winded thing, I can move on. So I wanted to show you a primitive blockout demo if you guys want to see it. And all I do, this is in ZBrush now, and like I said, we only have an hour, so I'm trying to compact everything really tight into this 1 hour. So let's see. I'm going to answer a couple questions really quick. So somebody's asking, would Marmoset work as well as KeyShot? My answer is it can, and it works fantastically for game resolution models. You can push high resolution models over there, but if you're going to do high resolution, I recommend KeyShot. If you're going to do game resolution, I recommend Marmoset. So let's see. Do I have a favorite retopo tool? Yes, I do, and I'll get into that in a little bit. What sort of poly count did you have at Disney for game res meshes? It ranged anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 per character, depending on how important they were and how big they were. And so, okay. So if you guys have watched my stream before, let's see. So if you've seen my stream, you've seen me block out characters with primitives. And if you haven't yet, I suggest you go to my website, which is 3dcharacterworkshop.com, download my user interface, my brushes, and my project file. And my project file is essentially this ruler, and it comes with a sphere. It comes with the sphere already ready to go. Okay? And what you'll do is I just start with that sphere, and then I add more to it. Okay? And I'll show you how to do that right now. But the brushes, when you download them, they come with this insert multi-mesh brush. And all this brush is just a collection of primitives. It's nothing special, but everything in there is built with quads, which is 4-sided faces. So if you see this cube and you drag it out and I turn on the wireframe, you'll see that it's made with quads, and these spheres are made with quads. There aren't any triangles in there. And that just makes for better sculpting inside of ZBrush. So if I want to add something now, I'm going to hide that ruler. And you can see with my interface, it'll come in with this floor turned on. You can turn it off right here. And people are asking about my course already, and yeah, I go through all of this stuff step by step in that course, but I'll get to that. Okay, so I'm going to grab this appendage brush. I'm just going to kind of lightly show you how this works today, because that's kind of all I have the time for today, but I want to show you. So you can essentially drag out this appendage brush to make the neck, and then you can rotate it and put it into place, and you can use inflate to inflate the neck, whatever you want to do. And then, yep, somebody says my brushes are great, thank you. Isn't this blockout method too mechanical? Wouldn't you be using the gesture? No, it is absolutely opposite of too mechanical, honestly. I'll show you some examples here in a minute of from some of my students. Okay, now to keep this symmetrical, I just want to show you some tricks here. Okay, you'll notice that when I scaled up this neck, see how the line is no longer symmetrical? So what do you do? Well, my interface comes with a custom menu. You can see it right here. And it's right up here in this corner. And what I've done is I've set it to a hotkey of 2, the number 2 on my keyboard. I've set it to 2. And how you can do that is you can hold down Control plus Alt and tap on that menu item, and then it'll prompt you to enter a hotkey, and I enter 2. Then I assign it to this back button. So this back button is actually my menu. So, and it'll pop up anywhere. And inside this menu, I have this thing called Mirror and Weld. So if I click that, you'll see that it becomes symmetrical, but it makes this, sometimes it'll make this line through it like this, which is fine, and all you have to do is it always mirrors from screen left to screen right. So to get rid of that line, all you need to do is drag that line to the right, and then it'll copy from the left to the right and just stamp that out, and I'll show you. You have to turn off symmetry, then you use your move brush. I just kind of lightly drag those over into the neighboring area, and you can mask it and pull the whole thing over at once. But now that I've pulled that over, I can hit Mirror and Weld again, and that'll just disappear. See that? So I know a lot of people have problems with symmetry in ZBrush. They're like, I lost my symmetry, how do I get it back? And that is a good way to do it. Now, the mirroring will not work if you have subdivision levels, if you've subdivided your model. And how you can tell is under Geometry, you can see Subdivide right here, Divide. If there's a number on subdivisions 2, that means you've subdivided it, and it'll tell you how many times you've subdivided it or if the model is subdivided. So if that makes sense. Somebody said my insert brush is fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And how to get rid of subdivision levels, either you can go down and delete higher, or you can go up and delete lower. Okay, so I'm going to go down and delete higher. Now, I always put my eyes on a separate subtool so I don't accidentally drag them around and make them non-spherical. Okay, so I've already made some eyes, but I'm going to show you how I made them. Okay, I'm going to delete them right here and make some new ones. So we're going to go back to this head, grab the Insert Multi-Mesh brush, grab one of these spheres, and then drag it out here. And if I hold Shift, it's going to snap, okay? And you need to be careful when you draw these out, because if you draw them out and push back in, I'll show you what happens. Draw them out, push them back in, look at that. They're no longer spherical. They're like egg-shaped eyes. So make sure you don't go back in when you're drawing eyes, okay? So now that I have these, I'll just kind of push them in. And when I block out heads, I'm going to tell you why I block them out this way. I make one sphere for the skull, and then one sphere for the jaw. And then I split it at the eye line. And the reason I split it at the eye line is because when we'll get into this beginner mistakes here in a moment, a big thing is beginners will just have the eyes flat, have them across. And a big mistake is not viewing it from this angle, because right here you can see the eye from the back of the head. I mean, it's protruding out more than it should right now because it's a stylized character, but you'll want to view your character from this angle. A lot of students they won't pull the sides of the eyes back in space far enough. Okay, it's just something to really watch out for, and building it in two pieces like this really helps with making sure you get that happening. And then you can see that it automatically starts to create an eye shape, because an eye shape is one of the most important parts about getting a character correct. And the other part is framing the face, and then the third part is the overall silhouette of the head. Okay, so in order to get these eyes on a different subtool, it's really easy. All you do is as long as everything else is masked and the eyes are not, you can go to my special menu here and hit Split Unmasked Points. You click that and it puts the eyeballs in its own subtool. And like I said, if you're used to modeling in Maya, this is essentially just grouping them. It's just a way to group them. And it ensures that you're not going to touch those eyes unless you want to. Okay? And let's see. Somebody said they like my shirt. Thank you very much. This is just my logo. I made a bunch of them. I'm going to be bringing them to the ZBrush Summit that's happening very, very soon. So if you guys can show up at the ZBrush Summit, if any of you are there, I'll be handing them out. So I'm going to use the appendage brush really quick just to drag out a nose, and then you can just kind of rotate it and put it into place. It's as easy as that. And then you can get your move brush and you can just start to work it, work the nose around how you want it. And that's essentially it. Okay, so then I just go through that procedure and just keep going over and over and over all the way down until your body is done. You just insert primitives and then mesh them into place. Insert primitives, mesh them into place. So, yep, Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick knows. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So that is essentially how you go about blocking out a character. Like I said, we don't have that much time, so I can't get into it. But I wanted to talk to you, so what do you do after the blockout? And we kind of went over it with that infographic, but you keep it clean using dynamic subdivisions. Let's go back here. I want to show you what it looks like. So you can see how low resolution this is, okay? If you just push D, not Control D, but just D, as in dog on your keyboard, it will smooth it, and it will give you a preview of what dynamic subdivisions are going to look like. And that's just a preview. It's not real until you hit this button that says Apply. And Dynamic Subdivisions is right under Geometry, under Dynamic Subdivisions. And you can tell that it's turned on because this is blue right here. If I turn it off, it goes back to low poly. If I turn it on, it goes to high. But it's like I said, it's just a preview. It's just something that gives you, it's kind of like hitting 3 on the keyboard when you're using Maya. It's just a preview of what it's going to look like when you actually subdivide it. Okay, so you keep it clean using dynamic subdivisions, and then you use Dynamesh to combine all of the objects together. So if I want to eventually combine these parts, I can go over here to Dynamesh, and I'll turn this up to 256, let's say, and hit Dynamesh. And let's see, you got to make sure you hit Apply on Dynamic, otherwise it's going to put Dynamesh on your low resolution mesh. Okay, so let's hit Apply and then hit Dynamesh again. Sorry, one more time. 256. And say no. Okay, so now it combines all this together. It keeps the polygroups. Polygroups are just a colored way of organizing your mesh. Okay, it keeps your polygroups, and then you can come back in here and start to smooth all this stuff out. See how this is a really nice way of blocking out a head? It's just easy. And you can block out an entire character after you get used to it. in about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. Okay? And the next thing you do is you use Z-Remesher to rebuild your surface and keep things light and clean. So now that everything's combined, you can just turn off Dynamesh, turn on Z-Remesher, and let's turn this down to like a 2, and the 2 represents thousands, so it's 2,000, okay? Just hit Z-Remesher, and then it's going to rebuild the surface. You saw how high resolution it was with Dynamesh. You can just rebuild the surface, and you can see it right here. And now it's clean and smooth, and now you can turn dynamic subdivisions back on, and you no longer have the separations that you did with the primitive objects. Instead, you have a nice clean object. See how clean that is? Yeah. So sometimes I use group loops. Sometimes I keep my polygroups. Some people are asking about that. So if you see this button over here that says keep groups, it depends. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't, depending on how Z-Remesh is, what kind of result it's giving me. But what keep groups means, you saw the colors before. If you turn on keep groups, it will keep those colors and it will try to put an edge loop in between the two colors. So that's what they were asking. It's a great question, thanks. Okay, and then you keep your objects separate as much as possible. What that means is, like, say if you're building out chunky hair and you have chunky bits all over the place, kind of like Joy that I made from, gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, here, let me just grab it really fast. Okay, so you can see Joy's hair if you look in the webcam. It just has a lot of big chunks, okay? And you don't want to Dynamesh those chunks together. You want to keep them separate as much as possible. And that just means separate is in different pieces to the hair. You still keep the hair all in one subtool, but you keep the chunks separate. If you Dynamesh them together and then Z-Remesh them again, you'd be kind of stuck. You'd be kind of locked in there, and there wouldn't be a way to edit that again, okay? So you want to keep them separate. Somebody asked about Z guides for Z-Remesh. That is a way to draw on the surface with a Z-Remesh guide and to kind of guide the Z-Remesher as far as where to go. I typically don't use it unless I have to, because it's kind of unreliable. I'm not going to lie. It's a little unreliable. So, but I will use it on occasion. Okay. So the next thing, hold your color and detail until the end. You want to, if you're using this Z-Remesher slash just low resolution dynamic subdivision, sorry if I'm throwing out all these large words that you don't understand. If you're brand new to ZBrush, I completely will go through them in a solution I'll tell you about here in a minute. But you can, with this method, you can fill an entire object with a color, because it's all, the color in ZBrush is vertex coloring, and that just means every little dot you see will get a color. So if it's low, if your mesh is very, very low poly count, you're not going to get really tight, fine, clean colors. It's going to be messy and blurry, and that's why, because you don't have enough geometry there. So I typically save my high resolution coloring, and I'll show you the pirate girl here in a minute, but I save it till the very end. Okay? Then like I said before, you pose your character as soon as possible. Okay, and then we'll get into this in a minute. But I wanted to show you, I just want to show you a little bit about the pirate girl here. So here, this is a character that I built during my stream when I was streaming for Pixelogic. And you can see here, the character looks pretty good, but she's still kind of pretty stiff, and you know, it's kind of hard to approve when it's in this state. And after you pose it, see, it's a huge difference. All of a sudden, the character has life and appeal, and it's just like, yeah, that's the character I want, you know. So then you take all of that information. I mean, these are similar, very similar. A lot of times, the difference between the non-posed and the posed character is extreme. Sometimes it would take me a couple days to take everything I did to the posed character and put it back into the neutral character. But you can see the surface on here. I wanted to show you with the poly paint. So like this arm, I saved those tattoos for the very, very end. The very end, okay? I didn't I didn't put those on anytime soon. And if I just solo these arms, well, let's see. Let's not take our clothes off. So if I go down in resolution, you can actually see the poly paint on the surface, because every one of these dots, or where the lines cross, represents a vertice, they're called. It's just a dot in space that defines the mesh. But you can see, if I turn this back off, see how the color, like this dot is getting colored gray and its neighbor is getting colored skin color. And if I go up one level in resolution, so if I hit D, it gets a little tighter and a little tighter and a little tighter. And it keeps going up and up and up, and you have to subdivide it enough to get that resolution. You jokesters. I wish all you guys could see the chat. I got to get that figured out. And thank you. I'm glad you like the octopus. Octopus is amazing from London. Thank you very much. Okay, so I want to show you guys that. Let's go back. Let's get to the 7 key mistakes to avoid when creating stylized characters and what to do instead. So if you guys have your handy dandy sheet I sent you in the email, you can check it out now. If you don't have that sheet, it is in the handouts section of GoToWebinar. It says handouts 1 of 5. You can download it. It's not necessary. It's just kind of a fun thing. So mistake number 1, choosing side or front only concept art. So this is a no-no for beginners. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry about chat. I can only see chat right now. I can't figure out how to turn it on so everybody can see it, but I can see your chat and I am reading your stuff, okay? So, and I'm going to have a big question and answer session at the end, so if you can hold your major questions till then. I can't answer them all in the whole stream. So it looks like we have about 15 minutes left or so I'd like to get through this. So choose a concept that shows the face from a 3/4 view without any wonky perspective or extreme pose. The reason why is because, is it called 10 mistakes? Sorry, it's supposed to be called 7 mistakes. Anyway, the reason why is because there's not enough information. A concept is a blueprint in order for you to design your characters from. It's like, so it's an example, a good example is, if you're going to build a house, what would you rather have? A blueprint to build the house from, or a nice picture of the house, right? It's like the drawings are blueprints to build the characters with. So you want as much information in that concept as possible. That's even why sometimes I would rather have line art from the concept artist rather than a finished painting thing, a nicely painted concept, because to me there's more information there that I can go from and I can build the character from. So anyway, when you're very first starting out, always choose concepts from 3/4 view. So I'm going to show you, yep, we're still live right now, so somebody just asked if we're live. So these are fantastic character designs, but the one on the left is straight on, and there's not enough information to give you how much depth he has in his face. And the ones on the right are directly from the side. They do give you some information with shadow and color and things like that. And when you get better and with more experience, you could probably pull off these characters on the right. But it's better if you have characters from a 3/4 view. You can see way more information in here as far as the forms and the volumes and the silhouette and stuff like that. These are all great concepts, but when you're first starting out, pick a concept with a 3/4 view. Okay, second mistake, not checking proportions with Spotlight. So you need to make sure you check your proportions and sculpt what you see, not what you know. That's another thing, okay? So I'm going to show you how to use Spotlight really quick. If you load your concept art, if you go to Texture Import and you grab your concept, then you click on it so it loads in this larger square. Then you can hit this up and down arrow right here, and it will put it out here. And then you can just hit this hide. It says hide up here. Just click that to hide that. then it gives you this cool little wheel that you can move around. You can move it around by clicking in the center here, moving it around. And then up here, this is kind of like one of those camera wheels. You can grab scale and just kind of roll it around this ring to size it. Then you can use opacity, which is right here, to crank up or down the opacity. And to check proportion, what you can do is crank your opacity way down, make your image large, then hit Z or Z to turn off. That's called spotlight, that ring. And you can put your character kind of behind it. So you can check your proportions and see. Now you have to take perspective into account because most concept is built with perspective, okay? And it's just a way to check your proportions and make sure that the character you're building is within the proportions that the concept artist laid out. Okay, so that's kind of a tip. And I'm going to show you an advanced tip really quick. If you want to get rid of the background of this spotlight, of this image here, you can click on Paint right here, and then hold down Control and Shift and drag, sorry, not Control plus Alt, and drag in the background, and it'll start making the background disappear. Now you have to be careful because sometimes it'll actually start making the character disappear. So you can do it again down here and over here. And if you have a solid background on your character rather than one that's all kind of everywhere, then this method will work a lot cleaner. So since this background is kind of messy, it doesn't disappear cleanly as well as it could. Okay. And another way you can make the background disappear is take it to 100% black inside Photoshop. Take the background to 100% black, because anything 100% black in ZBrush will alpha out. It will disappear. So that's another way you can completely control it if you want. Okay. Mistake number 3, ignoring the warbles. Now this is kind of a word I made up. I don't know, but ignoring the warbles means when you're trying to do something nice and clean, and you're like 90% complete with the character. You need to push yourself to and to take the time to really get in there with a fine-tooth comb, go over your model, and just work out the surface to be super nice and clean. And the best way to do that is on the lowest subdivision level of your character. Okay, because if you're on the highest subdivision level, your smooth works much slower, your move brush works much slower. So go down to the lowest level and look at the silhouette of your character and make sure it's super clean. So for example, like this leg right here, if I accidentally made a warble, a bump in the surface like this, well, how do I get rid of that, right? Well, you can go down to the lowest subdivision level, which is Shift D, and you can see it now. See that? And then you change your brush size to about the size of the warble, and you put it over there, and you just kind of scoot it in, okay? Then it's still not a perfect surface, so you want to smooth it, but you want to make sure you turn off color on your smooth brush, or else it's going to make these weird anomalies when you go back up in resolution. So how you do that is you hold down Shift and you turn off RGB on your smooth. Now when I smooth this, I got to turn off spotlight projection. That's another quick thing. If in this menu, since I'm using spotlight, some of your brushes will stop working. You need to turn off spotlight projection if you want your brushes to work while you have an image showing. Okay? So now I can smooth this out, and it makes the surface right back to nice and smooth. And then I can go back up in subdivision levels and smooth it out a little bit more, and then the surface is clean again. So that's a little trick you can do to make your surfaces clean. Work on the lowest resolution and then work your way up. Okay? So mistake number 4, adding too much detail too soon. Okay, so back to this pirate. I did not add the tattoos or these buttons or these little dots or these hooks around the boots until the very, very, very end. A lot of people will just throw color on there and get it to render as fast as possible without looking at the bigger picture without staying within, you know, the design. Okay, so we're running out of time. I got to bust through these. Okay, so this one is mistake number 5 is the duck lips and creepy eyes. So if you notice, brand new designer or brand new sculptors, character sculptors or modelers, they'll always have these flat eyes. They won't wrap the eyes around the head because they will take an image from the side and an image from the front, and they'll match that exactly, but they will ignore the 3/4 view, which is the most important. And they won't take the lips to go around, you know, to make the lips wrap around the teeth. They'll ignore that because they're just looking at the reference and matching it exactly. You actually have to look at your model from above to get that, to get the curves right here, and look at it above to get the curvature of the eyes, and make sure you pull the eyes back far enough on the head, and make sure your lips are curved from this direction. And like I said, look at your model from the rear 3/4 so you have a nice socket in your eye and your lips aren't sticking out and being flat. So beware of that. And mistake number 6, being afraid to make large changes. Push your model to extremes until it breaks. Don't be afraid to explore. The caveat with this, a lot of people just get stuck and they're like, I've modeled this and the head's too small and I don't know how to move it. And you know, don't be afraid to try and just make that head bigger. And with ZBrush 4R8, there's a way to do that with, well, honestly, typically what I do is I use Transpose Master, which allows you to pose, and I cover this in my course. But you basically push it to Transpose Master, make your head larger, and then go back. It's a thing I don't have enough time to cover right now, but it's something you can do, and it's something you should do. And a lot of people, you know, they just like, I don't dare do that, but do dare to do. I'm tripping over my words, but you know, don't be afraid to make large changes. And if you're worried about it, duplicate that subtool off, or save a new version and just try to go crazy with it. Okay. So the next thing. Mistake number 7, not posing your character. We've already gone over this. Pose your model as soon as possible to help get your model approved. That's huge. That's huge, and it's not something that a lot of modelers do. So I recommend it. And I've talked about this a little bit, but this is a bonus mistake. Okay, this bonus mistake is not creating a low-res character, and this is quite big. Okay, so if you want to get a job in the game industry, you need to show that you know how to create game characters. A lot of training out there will only take you to the high-res model, and it won't show you how to create a game model. Okay, so, and that's essentially what I just said. So where do you learn how to do all of that? Well, while working on Disney Infinity, I decided to build a course to share my knowledge with the world. I spent over 2.5 years building it, and I'm still updating it on an ongoing basis. And of course, it's called 3D Character Workshop. It's designed to give you the step-by-step solution. It shows you every little thing you need to know in order to create a really great stylized game character. It's absolutely the fastest way to learn how to get from A to B. So what exactly is the 3D Character Workshop? Well, it's 7 complete step-by-step modules, 5 amazing bonuses, ongoing interviews of industry professionals. So I will interview top people in their industry, and it's not always sculptors. It's just like I will interview concept artists like Corey Loftus and my friend Steve James, who does illustration for a living. And then I do rewatchable student feedback sessions. So what that is I'll show you that in a bit, but I have a private Facebook group that all of my students join when they join my course. And I will sometimes give feedback in there, and I will give it in 3 ways. I will either do draw-overs for you, or I will do a paint-over for you in a kind of an animated GIF format so you can see the before and the after. And if you're very close to being done, that last 10%, and you just need that little push to get the appeal, sometimes I will ask you to send me your model, and I will record myself telling you, I will make sure you're there and available to talk to, so you can ask me questions, and I will go through and I'll say, you know, take it like this and this and this, and I will show you, I will make one of those student feedback videos available for you to watch so you can see exactly what it looks like. And you can log in 24/7, it's all digital. So I'm going to take you in and show you the course right now, and this is what it looks like on the inside, okay? So I have this getting started, and then I have all these modules, and I go over ZBrush fundamentals, character design, character blockouts, detailing, how to detail the head and the hair, how to pose your character, and then this one is all about how to make your game character. Then inside here are the bonuses, and the bonuses, before we get into bonuses, let me show you, I'm going to go deep dive into one of these modules. Here's a sampling of a bunch of the lessons that are in there. So I'm going to lead you through step by step and show you. So yes, it's great for beginners, it's great for intermediate users, and it's also great for advanced users. Okay, so I'm going to take you into this geometry lesson, and this is what you'll see. And you can go on the right-hand side, and it will track your progress. That's what these little orange check boxes are. It will track if you've watched these or not, and you can get through and just kind of follow. There's text that goes along with it. You can maximize this screen resolution so you can actually see how big it is on your screen. You can put it on your second monitor and just watch it. And it comes with images and text. So if I go over something too quick, you can come back in here and read it. So you can go through it at your own pace, and it is lifetime access. That means once you get in there, you have access to it. It's kind of like I'm following ZBrush's mantra of once you buy it, you've got it. And all updates are completely free. Since my last release, up until this release, I have added 5 new lessons, some of them talking about ZBrush 4R8, some of them helping students get help in the beginning a little bit more. That's why I made this getting started thing. And inside this bonus, you can see I have a resource guide. This is where you can download my materials. You can download all sorts of stuff in here. Then I go over rendering your character with KeyShot, and this is how you join the closed Facebook group. And then this is how you prepare for 3D printing. I go over that too as a bonus. That's completely, it just comes with it. I show you how to set up your character so you can send it off to a printer. Super cool. And this is something I added at the last minute the last time I opened up the course. And because when I set up those lessons, it's kind of like reading a script, and I go through it a little fast in the pacing. And I wanted to make something that's a little bit slower, a little slowed down, and a little less technical and high end. So what I did is I made a 3-part head modeling course, and that's what this is about. This male bus mini course, if you're brand spanking new to ZBrush, I suggest you get in here and you watch this first. This takes you through the entire process from A to Z with just a head. I mean, I even go through how to make a character model out of the head, and how to bake maps with just the head, and how to retop it. So you won't be overwhelmed. It's just kind of a little hand-holdy and a little slower. So this is perfect for beginners. And let's see, let's go back here. So all these modules, and then here are the live Facebook feedback sessions, okay? So if you go in here, you can see all of these feedback sessions I have so far. And here are some of the students' artwork that they've submitted, and I've gone and taken it and I've said, hey, this is what it is before and this is what it is after. And this is how you do it. And I don't give the model to the student, I give them screenshots, so it's not like they're taking my model and saying, hey, I did this. It's, no, I want you to do it because you're learning the process. Okay, and then like I said, I have this private Facebook group, and I wanted to show you guys this Facebook group. So once you get in here, I add stuff all the time. So these are students that are posting stuff in here, and sometimes I will post an inspirational character. It's just a character that I've seen somewhere like an art station. I'll say, hey, if you want an example of a killer portfolio piece, check this out. And here's students that have added, you know, their different artwork. Somebody's asking, is this course only on ZBrush? No, it's not. 90% of it is ZBrush. At the very end, let's go back to the course. Okay. So under the game creation module, this last one, number 7, what you will need is you will need 3D coat. You'll do retopology and UVs with 3D coat, and you will use 3D coat to do your UVs because it is just the fastest way and the easiest way that I've seen do it, right? So then I'll cover how to retop your entire character. Retopology means rebuild it with low resolution. Then I'll cover UVs, and I'll cover baking maps inside Marmoset Toolbag, and then I will cover how to create your final game asset, and then get it into your portfolio, get it on ArtStation so you can start getting those jobs, okay? So I cover it A to Z, nothing is left out. It's the entire path. So this is just the second time I've opened it, and if you go to, let's see, I just want to show you guys some student results really fast. It's the top of the hour. We're at 1 hour. I've booked it for an hour and a half. I won't go that long, but I wanted to answer all you guys' questions. But here are some awesome blockouts. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these really quickly. And here's a Preston Blair that somebody did. And you don't have to pose your blockouts, but some people do because it's fun. And this is an example of taking it from blockout to final character. So here is Raphael's final Tila that he made based on the instructions of my course. So he took it from blockout to fully realized. And then this one's done by Matthew Armstrong and Kenny Quach and Erie Escobar, Christopher Dean. So I'm going through these kind of quick. If you want to see these and actually study them, they're on my website, 3dcharacterworkshop.com. Up in the top right corner, you'll see Student Gallery, and you can get them there. So a whole bunch. So 3D Character Workshop, how do you get it? I'm going to give you the link right now. Let's see. I thought I had it up here. So now I'll get to questions right after that. I thought I had my link already up here. Sorry, 1 second. Oh my goodness. I have everything all solid except for this one part, the most important part, right? Okay, here we go. I'm going to paste. How can I paste it in chat? Okay, I'll see if I can paste it in chat. Can you guys see this? So it's essentially 3dcharacterworkshop.com/p/3dcw enroll X. Okay, I'll show you the link here in a second. So how much will it cost you? You can get started today for 2 monthly payments of $387 or 1 single payment of $697. You'll immediately get access to the entire course, and then you'll get all the bonuses and access to the private Facebook group after you email me your information. And I talked about the Facebook group already. If you want to learn how to create stylized characters without all of the headaches, there is no better system. This is exactly what I needed when I started. It would have saved me hundreds of hours. You get all the modules in Watch Your Own Pace digital format, and you get access to our closed Facebook group where many students are giving great feedback like I showed you. And like I said, you'll get occasional feedback from me. And a 30-day money-back guarantee, no hassles. So you can try it, you can get in there. If it absolutely doesn't work for you for some reason, just you have 30 days, okay? So right now, if you go to that link, can you see it? Can you click the link in chat? I just want to make sure everybody has the link. I'm gonna do an answer. Can I do this? Send to all. They don't make it easy, do they? Send to all. Okay. So there you go. Link is up. Hopefully you can see it. So if you can get there, you go all the way to the bottom and you'll see this plan. And you just pick the one that you want. So you go to this page. Here's the link, 3dcharacterworkshop.com/P/3dcharacterworkshop enroll X. I left an X off the end of there, but it's enroll X. Then you scroll down to the bottom until you see the payment options. And then you choose the one you would like. And then you'll go to this checkout page, and yes, I do accept PayPal and any major credit cards, and you pick the one you want, you get in there, and you'll see the PayPal option on payments right here. And then you continue, you'll see this order page, and then you'll have immediate access. So click the link in chat or type in characterworkshop.com. Okay, now time for Q&A. I know you guys have tons and tons of questions. So let's see. Yes, somebody's asking how long is this open? This is open until Monday, this coming Monday at midnight. So September the 25th at midnight. So from today until, because I can't get a ton of students in there because I give feedback. I can only collect so many, I can only have so many students in there because I need to give you my time to make it worth your time. Okay, so there isn't a student limit yet. If it gets crazy, I may shut it down. But you know, just you'll want to get in there, and you want to get in there before it shuts down. So okay, I'm trying to catch up with all of these questions. Thank you everybody who signed up so far. And I hope you enjoyed this webinar. If you take the course, will you be entitled to at least a limited number of critiques? As far as critiques go, that's kind of the trade-off. I call it light critiquing. This is what I do full-time now. This is me. I don't have a full-time job and do this on the side. I am your instructor. If you need help, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to get it. Okay? There are 3 ways of getting a hold of me. You can send me an email through support, and I show you how to do that with the onboarding emails. There are comments at the bottom of every single lesson, and as soon as you leave a comment, it sends me a notice that somebody has left a comment. And I usually get to those in 24 hours. The fastest way to get feedback is to post your stuff in the Facebook group. And I'm in there most of the day, and if I'm not there, there's a good chance one of the other students will have an answer. So, like I said, it depends on the critique level you need. I will either give you a draw over or a paint over or possibly a Facebook Live video if you're to the point where I think it's necessary. Okay, so the goal is this. The goal for this is to get you a nice, appealing character in your portfolio so you can start getting work. That's the goal. Okay, so or maybe you have a character that you want to put into your own game. That's another option too. I'll show you how to make game characters. So, okay, is that cheat sheet a freebie? Yes, it is, and I will send it to you when I send you I will send everybody in here the replay link, and you can watch this whole thing again if you'd like. And that will also come with a link to that freebie that I'm giving away. Okay, so let's see. So many questions, so fast. Let's see. Okay, you never open up ZBrush, is it good for a beginner? It's absolutely fantastic for a beginner. So that's one of them. And especially if you go through that mini head bust course first, it's fantastic. Let's see. Think about your course, but I wanted to start over 4 weeks. Do you give you some feedback then? Okay, yes, that's a fantastic question. So you will get lifetime access to this course. That means once you're in there, you're in there. You can make as many characters as you want. You're not limited to one character. In fact, I encourage you to make tons of characters because that's how you get better, by practicing. And there are some people that have a ton of time and they're just making a whole bunch of characters right now. Since my course opened, they're just making a whole bunch of characters. They're putting them on the Facebook group. And to the reverse end of that, there's people that are just getting started just now. Like they're starting to post just now because life gets in the way. I made this course for people with busy lives. You know, not everybody has the time to dedicate like 8 solid weeks of intense study to get this done. That's why I made these videos, to watch at your own pace and get the critiques when you need it, not every single week, you know. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So let's see. How often will new classes be available? I make new lessons based on student need. Okay, so if I start seeing a whole bunch of questions from a whole bunch of different students, like I hit this point and I don't understand, or if they release a brand new version of ZBrush like they just did, and they have a new something like the gizmo, I will add a new lesson talking about the new features of the of ZBrush. And I put that up there, and that the gizmo is up there. I still left the transpose tool lesson up there, but it still flows just like that. So I make new lessons quite often. I would say one or two a month maybe, or less. It's not a ton. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want to give you more information if I see that you need it, is essentially how that works out. Okay, so somebody else is asking, is this course for only one character? It's not. You can make as many characters as you want. Okay, so somebody's asking, is 3D Coat Amateur license good enough? Yes, you can use the amateur license, or the educational license. You can find it for $100 on Steam. You can also get the Marmoset tool bag on Steam as well, and you can wait until it's time for you to make the game characters to buy Marmoset. You don't need those things right now. Like I said, 90% of the course is ZBrush. So you even make a couple characters before you decide to make a game character out of one of them. You know, get a nice character first. So let's see, can you buy into the workshop at any point in time, or it's only for a limited time? I only open it a few times during the year because, like I said, I don't want to get overwhelmed with student feedback. I can't have just a ton of people in there, or I won't be able to keep up and everybody will be lost. So I want to be able to give you guys the feedback that you deserve. So, man, it keeps popping my questions all the way to the top. Let's see. So to follow all your videos, what are the programs you would need? Do you offer any alternatives you could use instead? So that's a good question. This will not work with ZBrush Core. You will have to have ZBrush 4R8 or newer. Okay, so that is huge. And then you'll need Marmoset tool bag if you're going to make game characters, and 3D Coat, and then you'll need Keyshot if you want to render your high-resolution characters. You can go through the entire course without having Keyshot, but if you want to render them in high-res with Keyshot, with that bonus, that's why I made it a bonus, then you'll need Keyshot. Okay, so let's see. I already have a job in the industry, but I want to improve my pipeline artistic skills. Is this course good for me? Absolutely. There's one of my students, his name's Andre. He does realistic figures for collectibles, and he wanted to learn how to do stylized figures, and he has taken it and run with it. He has been doing, you can see in the student gallery, he has some fantastic infinity-looking characters in there, and he's already gotten 3 freelance jobs based on his stylized characters. It's fantastic. So yes, absolutely. ZBrush 4R7 is fine, but you'll miss some things, and it's free to upgrade ZBrush, so you should, unless you have an educational version of ZBrush. But how much of those? How much is the software? So ZBrush is, you can find it for about $650, but on their website it's like $800, and you can get Marmoset. I'm trying to remember. You can get the educational version of 3D Coat for $99. I think Marmoset is around $150. It's not that expensive for what it is. It's fantastic. So let's see. I'm trying to get all of these questions. You enrolled? Yes, you can start. As soon as you enroll, you can start. It's like everything is available to you. I don't drip anything to you. I don't release it in time. It's just you get access to all of it. So you can skip around if you want. Not a big deal. Okay, do you encourage students to design their own characters or work from other artists' designs? That's a fantastic question. It's actually a question that I go through when trying to find concept art. If you want a job in the industry, 9 times out of 10 you will be modeling someone else's concept. So I encourage you to find someone else's concept and hit it and just nail it, because that is what studios are going to pay you to do. There is that small sliver of studios that want you to actually design the characters, but more often than not you will be creating characters that have been designed by someone else. So I suggest doing that, and I do cover that in the course. So let's see, I wish I could scroll these. I'm in Virginia, I'm a student at a game art online. Oh my goodness. I will want to find something to help push me further. How long do you think you'll be doing this? Like I said, this is my full-time gig. This is what I do now. I do some freelance on the side, but for the most part, I do this course and I help students get to where they need to be. One of my students goes to the University of Utah here locally, and I know one of the professors there too, and I'm good friends with him, and he said, you know, since my student has been taking your course, his skills have improved like crazy, and his speed has improved like crazy. So he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's pretty cool. I wish you guys could see chat because I'd have them drop their testimonials in here. So when will the next course if you do not decide now? So like I said, I just release it a couple times a year. I will be releasing it again either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. I'm not sure. It depends on how well this current release right now goes. So it depends. I might open every quarter. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. So not sure if there are deadlines to post exercises. There are limited time to post. There's no limitations. You go at your own pace. And that's kind of an interesting question too, because some people need deadlines, and I'm going to start posting like little challenges inside the private Facebook group for students, so they can have a little deadline. Say, let's make a character based on Halloween in a month, and then you'll have a deadline. If you want to join, if you have the time, great. If you don't, but I want to get some of those deadlines in there, because right now there's not. It's like I said, it's go at your own pace, and I mean go at your own pace. If you can just fit in little sections of learning when you can in the morning, at night, you know, then it's better than nothing. So it's great. I'm an environment artist, and since 2 years I've been getting passionate about stylized art using ZBrush, both props and tileable textures. Do you think I would get benefits following this course and doing a character instead of environment stuff? Many thanks, Andrea. So yes, Andrea, that is a great question. There are, if that's where your passion lies and you start to pull towards it, then do it. That's, you don't have to focus on one or the other. You can do both. Like I said, I was an animator and a modeler for a long time, and I just kind of ended up being a modeler only. And that's kind of what you're doing with environments and characters. Just try it out, you know. And if you like it, this is the fast track to getting there and doing it, and you'll find out if you really like it or not. Let's see. To encourage students to, okay, which graphics tablet is best for a 3D artist? Any graphics tablet you can afford. So even those little cheap bamboos are better than using a mouse. Just promise me you will not use a mouse to sculpt with, please. Use any kind of tablet, even the non-Wacom ones. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have a big fancy Cintiq like this at all. You don't. Just a tablet of any kind, of pen, even a tablet PC is better than a mouse. So that's what I recommend there. I already have a job in the industry. Let's see, do the videos have a pop-out mode so those who have one monitor view the videos while working in ZBrush? Not necessarily. Sorry, Dean. You can just listen to it in the background and keep alt-tabbing back and forth to it, or you can view it on your phone too. If you have a phone or a tablet, you can blow the videos up in your phone and watch it that way. The screen's kind of small, but it is something you could do. So let's see. When am I closing my course? The course will close, well, the course is not closing, but enrollment will close on Monday the 25th at midnight. So that's how long you have to decide to get in this round or not. Let's see. Okay, maybe if I missed your question, please type it again. Michael, shame. But if that's all you got, Michael said, I used a mouse for my first 3 sculpts. I'm sorry. It's like sculpting with a brick. Really, it is. Okay, I have a question. I'm living in Argentina, and I can't pay more than. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I can't drop the price of, because this is, you know, it wouldn't be fair to everybody else if I did that. Let's see. So. Love that you have a mark complete. Oh yes, Sean, it's great. And it also will show you how much of that video you've watched. There's kind of a timer on the time bar. You can say exactly where you've ended and just begin right again. So let's see, would you be releasing the modules as standalone without the extras? No, I will not, because Brian, it is so crucial to the entire thing, and I update more lessons so often that it's kind of like being part of this group that exists and grows with you. I mean, I had an opportunity to package it up like that and send it to China, and I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. It's not how this is designed or built. It's kind of one thing. So let's see. I can't use ZBrush because of Linux. Generally prefer to learn concepts rather than specific tool usage. Could you still benefit from your course if you use Blender? You can, but I wouldn't recommend it, Brandon. I don't think you would get as much out of it as you could if you went full in. Warble, is that industry jargon? Totally. It's totally legit. Is there a newsletter where you can announce the enrollment, if enrollment places are available again? Yes. If you get on my newsletter, so if you download my brushes, my user interface and all that, you automatically get onto my newsletter and you will be notified when my course is going to be opening up again. Okay, so that's how you do that. Is it possible to only, oh, you guys are asking too fast. Oh, so many. I love the questions though. There's so many of them. Okay. Is it possible to only have the custom menu you created inside ZBrush and still keep your own interface? You can build your own menu, and I can show you how to build your own menu within your own interface. I actually have a video showing you exactly how to do that inside the Facebook Live feedbacks group. Hello from Ukraine. Hello. Let's see. So how long will I give critiques? I just give them as I see them. I know it's kind of weird for this industry not to say I'm giving critiques out every week. It's I give them when I see them. When I see you needing help, I will give you help for as much as you want it. You know. Let's see. Ariel, can you use PayPal? Does PayPal work? You can try that. Can I describe what Marmoset is? Yes, Kelly. Marmoset it's a way to import your low-resolution meshes, your high-resolution meshes, and transfer the detail from the high to the low to make new textures, new maps, and I cover all of this, how to make new maps, and then you can delete your high-resolution models out of there, so all you're left with is your low-resolution character, and then it has the ability to export that character out to any game engine that you want. You can send it to Maya, you can send it to Unreal, you can send it to Unity, you can send it to Marmoset's viewer or Sketchfab's viewer and put it in an interactive portfolio on ArtStation. That's one of the best ways to show off your art, is to use that. So that's what Marmoset is. So let's see, I'm sure you mentioned it in class, but do you always stay in dynamic sub D or do you eventually work in regular sub Ds? That's a good question. I stay in dynamic subdivisions as long as I possibly can because it offers you the most flexibility in ZBrush's tools. So to answer that question, that's what I do. I stay in dynamic sub-D as long as possible until I'm forced to actually add real subdivisions. And usually what forces me is adding color or adding surface detail. So if I don't need to do either of those things, I will stay in dynamic for as long as possible. So you just bought the full access. Thank you very much. You've worked for a rigger and tech artist for many years, but now you want to get into the art side. Awesome. Greetings from Finland. Oh, you work with Brad. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Tell Brad hello. Brad is another character artist that worked with me at Disney Infinity, or Disney Interactive. So let's see. Are 3D sculpting jobs using ZBrush increasing in demand? Absolutely. It's becoming like the thing to use. So is Facebook the only way to get feedback? No, it's not. If you don't, and I completely understand if you don't like Facebook and you don't have a Facebook account, you can send email to me directly and I can give you feedback directly. I have a couple students that do that. And I'm actually working on, if you've heard of Discord. Discord is another kind of a community type thing. And if Discord can get live video, which they're working on, if they can get that, I will pull the group out of Facebook and stick it in Discord so no one has to have a Facebook account to get access to the feedback. But for now, I can give you feedback through email, and that's just fine. Like if you saw the character done by Kenny Quatch, I gave him feedback through email, and it worked great. Yes, Blender is very different. I just bought full access. Okay, thank you. Is Facebook the only way? What kind of 3D printers would you recommend? I do get into that in the class. I recommend a Form 2 for resin-based printing. That's what I showed you that I printed my character with. And then there are some extrusion printers that are cheaper, but they don't give you the nice surface detail that the resin printers do. And for that, I'm not really familiar with those as much. I've used a, I can't recall the name right now, but they're getting better and better all the time. So, but right now I recommend the Form 2. If you can afford it. It's kind of expensive. Where can I see those student models before they were staying? You can see them, Danny, on my website, 3dcharacterworkshop.com. Go to the top right and you'll see Student Gallery. Click on that, and there are blockouts and there are high res, and I'm working on getting game characters in there as well. They're just kind of coming in slow, and I only have a few of them, so I haven't added those yet, but they're coming. I've been wanting to sculpt character design by other artists. Is there any common etiquette to keep in mind when doing so? Yes, I do go over that in the course, but you always want to ask them if it's okay if you model their character. And the reason why is because it could be tied up in licensing or something like that, and you don't want to model something that you can't show in your portfolio because it's owned by someone else. So you always want to ask the artist if you can. And the second thing is always make sure you give the artist credit wherever you post that image. You say original design by, and you'll see that credit given on every single image in the student gallery. So that's a very good question. Okay, do you go over hard surface modeling techniques for props, etc.? So yes, I do. I go over how to make the gun using ZModeler. It's kind of a primer. I don't get really deep into it, but I do cover it. And I'm going to be making another lesson in addition to that soon that covers the new Boolean stuff from ZBrush 4R7. And because that is just, it changes the game as far as hard surface goes, and I want to make sure that I cover that. I just haven't had the time yet because I've been launching this again. So now that this is launched again, I want to cover the Boolean stuff. So that's probably one of the next lessons that I'm going to be putting in there is how to do the more of the hard surface stuff. So do you go over retopo for animation, or does the game character session cover that? Yes, I do cover how to retop for game, so riggers will like you, is what I like to say. So riggers will not hate you. I go over where to put the loops, how to do topology on a face for the best deformation and the best animation. So yes, I do cover that stuff. So where can you find your brushes in UI again? You can find it on 3dcharacterworkshop.com. It's just on my main page. There's a couple buttons, and you just click those and it'll send you a zip file that has all the brushes, the user interface, and everything you need. So super cool. So let's see. Under mistake number 1 for the yes, who were the concept artists for I guess I don't understand the question, Ronnie. Maybe you can ask me in a little different way. Let's see, I covered the hard surface. Do students get jobs after finishing your course? Okay, so Daniel, the answer is yes, but I can't guarantee that you will get the job after the course. But yes, there have been students that have gotten work based on the art that they've made through my course. So I can say that, there's proof there, but I cannot guarantee that you will get a job if you go through my course. So there you go, take it for what it's worth. After a student has completed your course, do you provide any assistance for people looking for work? I don't. I can give you advice. A lot of people ask me for advice, but I don't actually go, like help you get a job. So, yep. Okay, so that is actually all the time I have for questions. It's 1:30. So you can join the course right now if you follow that link. Let me put the link up there one more time if you didn't see it. And I'm going to put it in chat. Let's see, chat. I don't know where chat is. Okay, and it might kick you guys out, I'm not sure. But thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the course. And if you have any more questions you want to ask me, send them to shane.olson, O-L-S-O-N, at 3dcharacterworkshop.com, and I will try to answer those questions as best as I can. So thank you everybody for attending today, and I hope to see you in there. So thank you very much, and you have a very nice rest of your day.